The Lord be with you. A reading from the Holy Gospel according to Mark. After leaving the mountain, Jesus and his disciples went on from there and passed through Galilee. He did not want anyone to know it, for he was teaching his disciples, saying to them, "The Son of Man is to be betrayed into the hands of men, and they will kill him. And 3 days after being killed, he will rise again." But they did not understand what he was saying and were afraid to ask him. Then they came to Capernaum, and when he was in the house, Jesus asked them, "What were you arguing about on the way?" But they were silent. For on the way they had argued with one another who was the greatest. Jesus sat down, called the 12, and said to them, "Whoever wants to be first must be last of all and servant of all." Then he took a little child and put it among them, and taking it into his arms, he said to them, "Whoever welcomes one such child in my name welcomes me. And whoever welcomes me welcomes not me, but the one who sent me." The Gospel of the Lord. So last weekend I began a new message series, a homily series at St. Joseph's and St. Ursula's. If you missed it, there's a link on our website, chathamcatholic.ca, or if you're having trouble sleeping, you can also go there, get the link, and I'll preach you right to sleep. Isn't that awesome? And the title of this message series is Living God's Way and Not My Own. We're back into September, back into school. Are all of you excited to be back at school? Raise your hand if you're excited. Okay, raise your hand and go like this if you're not sure yet. Not sure? No, the teachers aren't doing that. That's good. They're excited to be here. Mr. Tadino, the principal, okay. But you're excited. So, and when you go back to school, it's kind of like all the we remember all the rules and all the ways. It's fun to be with your friends. It's fun to learn things, and we kind of get reminded about what we're supposed to do, how we're going to try to be the best people we can be. And you have amazing teachers and staff that do such a great job. And for us in faith, we come to church to remember to try to live God's way and not our own way. And last weekend, the homily focus was, to be faithful disciples, we need to discover and accept God's way and let go of my own. And I referred to Frank Sinatra. Do you young people remember Frank Sinatra? No. He had a song that he sang is called "My Way." And part of the song says, "I've lived a life that's full, I've traveled each and every highway, but much, much more than this, I did it my way." A lot of times we get caught up in wanting to do things our own way. And we know that we have to try to do our best to find out, because God wants what's best for us. And we want to try to go God's way. And that's why we come to pray every weekend at Mass. That's why we go to the Sacrament of Reconciliation. That's why we pray, so that we can not go our own way, but go God's way. Well, the homily today, I want to just look at one thing. God's path requires humility, service, and being last. This brings grace, light, and joy for all, for everybody around. And we heard this in the gospel. What were you arguing about on the way? Jesus was asking the apostles, and they were silent. For on the way they had argued with one another who was the greatest. Who was the best apostle? They were arguing with one another. And Jesus knew this, and he finally gathered them together and said, listen, it's not all about trying to be number one or the favorite or the best or the first. Whoever wants to be first must be last of all and servant of all. But Jesus is reminding us that to be the best version of ourselves and to live out our faith to the fullest and to be the best follower of Jesus is to place others first. Their needs, their circumstances, to help others And in that way, we become first in the eyes of God. That's not easy to do, especially when you become an adult. It becomes even harder to do. But Jesus helps us. And so we also heard in the second reading from James, the letter of James, talking about when we're kind of selfish, when we're just thinking about my way and trying to be number one for myself. It says, "Beloved, where there is envy and selfish ambition, there will also be disorder and wickedness of every kind." If we kind of focus in on just what I want to be number one. I want to be the best athlete. I want to be on the number one team. I want it all about me. It's going to cause division. It's going to cause problems in our lives. But the wisdom from above is first pure, then peaceable, gentle, willing to yield, full of mercy and good fruits. If we follow God's way, there's going to be peace. There's going to be joy. There's going to be friendship. There's going to be love. And we need to be reminded of this now as we enter into the fall and all the different things that are going on back to school, to be focused in on that. So I was wondering about at what times do we try to be first at the airport? I don't understand this. You go and you buy your ticket for your flight. Some of you, before you get there, pick your seat. Or you get to the airport and the terminal and you pick your seat there, and then you wait at the terminal, at the gate. And then what they try to do with some airlines is that they try to seat the plane with the people at the back first, working their way up to the front, which makes a lot of sense. You know, usually if it's a big plane, kind of 4 sections. But once that's saying, okay, sections 25 to 37, which is the back of the plane, everyone rushes in line. Why? Why do you think? What's that? So they don't miss their flight, but they've got a seat already. So they could be the first ones on the plane, that's true, but they can't even pick their seat because it's assigned. It becomes kind of silly. So I sit back and just watch this. And I'll wait until everyone else gets on board, and I'll go and I have my seat. It's kind of funny how we have this inclination, so we don't miss the flight, but we want to be first on the plane and then sit there while everyone else gets on board. We always want to win. You know, I played basketball, I coached, I referee basketball. We're always wanting to win. And yet, we don't grow when we win. What we should try to do is to play our very, very best. Do the best we can, and when we play other teams or other opponents, like in this tennis match, that are better than us, we grow. It forces us to try to work harder. I remember in high school, I was playing junior basketball. We were in a basketball tournament, and a team pulled out. So I was a midget team replaced them, so a bunch of grade 9s. We were grades 10s and 11s, and we were going to play this team, and the coach gathered us together before the game and said, "Just so you know, there is no joy in winning this game. I would rather play the best team in the province of Ontario at our level than have to do this." Now, we won the game, and we weren't a very good team, so we were kind of happy. But it's not about that. It's about competition, working very hard, and trying to be the best athlete or the best person we can be. Another way we kind of look and we focus so much on trying to be first that it's kind of looking down a tunnel. And when we look down the tunnel, I want to be first, I want to be the best, I want to be the greatest, and we just look down the tunnel at the goal that I want, and we forget about what else is around us. And it becomes like walking down a dark tunnel where we miss out on God's grace and God's love, and we forget how we're called to help each other out. People want to go to a concert, maybe Taylor Swift or Stompin' Tom Connors. Well, he's in heaven now. But we rush to the front seats for concerts or shows because we want to be close. But sometimes we can focus so much and spend a lot of money for the seats, by the way, that sometimes it's better to sit back, because not only you can see the concert or the celebration, but you can see others around and be connected with other people. Because we're on this journey together. If we're so focused on what we want ourselves, we forget that we're walking together as brothers and sisters, as friends, journeying to the kingdom, and that we're called to care for one another. That's how we're supposed to be last and servant of all, and kind of not get caught up in trying to be first. Now, the most popular seats of the church are at the back. And I know it's because of humility, and they want to see everyone experience this grace. I think it's more about first ones out, but I won't judge. But the world reminds us, or tries to convince us, to be first, to be best. Don't worry about others, worry about yourself. But Jesus doesn't teach us that. He just teaches us something very, very different. Pope Francis a couple of years ago said, "Brothers and sisters, which side do you want to be on? Do we prefer the easy way of thinking only about ourselves? Or do we choose the narrow door of the gospel that puts our selfishness into crisis, but which makes us able to welcome the true life that comes from God?" And this, most important, it makes us happy. Jesus reminds us that if we wait to be last, we wait to look after others, we step back and see where he wants us to go and what he wants us to do, we help others, but we also become happy in our faithfulness and in our love, in our service and in our sacrifice. And so, as I conclude, what are the benefits of being last? Here's 3. The first is placing others first honors them and gives them dignity. It makes others feel more important, and that makes us happy. Allows us to see the graces around us. If we're kind of tunnel vision, we don't see what's happening around. Being last, we get to see kind of the full picture. Seeing where we're to help one another, how we help each other along this pathway to the kingdom, and going through life that has its challenges and difficulties. And then finally, thinking less of ourselves helps us be real disciples. Not just in prayer, not just at Mass, but what the Eucharist and Jesus teaches us: to serve, to sacrifice, to love, which makes everyone happy and brings and bridges divisions, heals hearts, brings hope, and brings love. So as we continue on our Mass, God's path requires humility, service, and being last. This brings grace, light, and joy, not just for you, not just for me, but for everyone, living God's way and not my own.